Hey everybody, this is Eric, and today I'm going to talk to you guys how to use Cypress, which is an end-to-end integration testing tool with Vue.js using Vue CLI 3.0. So in this video, we're just going to go over some quick basics, a quick tip on how to get started with this, and then we're also going to look at how you get it working on Windows too, if you guys are interested on that. If you don't know, my name is Erik. I've been programming for quite a few years, and if you guys like this type of video, below I have this awesome free Vue.js cheat sheet. Just click on the link below and you can get it. So let's begin. So like I said, Cypress, if you go to cypress.io, it talks to you all about what Cypress is. It's the web has evolved. Finally, testing has too. It's a fast and easy, reliable testing tool for anything that runs in the browser. So it has this kind of really neat interface to do, especially end-to-end testing, complete end-to-end testing experience, it says. To install it, you actually, if we use Vue CLI, so I'm going to go and bring my window over here. I'm using Commander. I'm in Windows, but you can kind of get the same idea if you're on Mac or Linux. So I already have Vue CLI 3 installed. If you don't know how to install Vue CLI 3, I actually have another video on that. But let's say I wanted to create a new project. So I do Vue create and my new proj 1, 2, 3. And when this comes up, it'll ask you what you want to install. So you can install the defaults or you can manually select features. So let's manually select the features. And we can select end-to-end testing. And then it asks you if you want to use Cypress for your end-to-end testing or Nightwatch. Now, the nice thing about Cypress is it has this really easy interface to do your testing. It's really easy to work with. One thing, obviously, though, it's only Chrome only, as it says there. So that's one downside. Selenium, you can use many different browsers. So then I hit Cypress, and then it asks you if you want to do any dedicated config files or package files. And I would do dedicated, and then do you want to save this feature presets? You say no, and then it would do the install. I'm not going to go and do the install because I already did it. So I already have an app here up and running. I didn't really do much with it, but I did set it up with Cypress. So we see here on our left side we have tests, and then we have the spec file, which is empty. And you can create your own Cypress file or test file, spec file. Now you can create multiple spec files. You can use utility files and import stuff in. So it's pretty easy that way. What we want to do is I went ahead and already started a localhost server on 8080. And so here it is right here. It's nothing too fancy. This is just what comes out of the box with Vue CLI. It creates this application for us. And what I did is I wanted to test some things. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can actually, in Cypress, like many other testing utils, you can use CSS type selectors to select what elements you want to look at and what you want to test. So we're going to create some very simple contrived tests. So we're going to actually use these data attributes and have it equal links. Now, the Cypress guide has some documentation on what the best practices are for Cypress, and a lot of times they recommend is to use these data attributes. That way, if your DOM changes or the classes change or some elements change, these won't be affected by it. So I created one here called data-cy equals links. And so let's create a test for that. So we're going to go back to our test.js file, and we're going to type in describe, and then we're going to call it, we'll call it test links. Doesn't really matter. And we'll have a comma here, and we'll have function. Let's do this. And in this describe, this is kind of where we're going to put all our test cases in. So this first one, we'll just do, to make things easier, we're going to do a before each on each one of them. And by the way, there is quite a few ways of doing test cases. Maybe in a future tutorial, I'll do a more advanced sample. But right here, we're going to use just, it's very simple. We're going to do CY. So there's the CY that you get with Cypress, which is you're going to be your cert library. It's going to be how you set up your server. It's going to do a lot of different things. So we're going to do cy.visit HTTP localhost, and I'm going to put 8080. So I'm just going to use the one that we have already running, You don't. There's other ways of doing this, but we're going to do it this way first. And we're going to do check links. So we'll say, actually, we'll call this test main page. That might be a better way to describe it. So we'll do check links here. And we'll have function again. And then we're just going to see here. We're going to do cy, and we're going to get, and we're going to use our selector. So we're going to do data.cy equals links, closing bracket. And then we can use this function called children, which says here it gets the children of each element in the set of matched elements, optionally filtered by a selector. So that's pretty handy. And then we're going to do a should, and we're going to have. So this is like a chai should, which if you're familiar with assertion libraries, this should look familiar to you. We'll do length 2. So let's save it there. So now we have one test case. It's testing the main page before each of our tests. That's how we're going to start each test with it. It's going to visit localhost 8080. Then it's going to get our links, and we're going to see if it has 2 children. So we're saying this links here. We know there's 2 children underneath it, 2 LIs. So let's see if that works. So to start it up, we're going to go back to our commander window. And so I have my application open in the right directory here. And if you're in Mac, you would just run this npm cypress open. You can actually run this command here. But since we're inside the PC Windows, I had to install manually. You can go to the installation information, and it actually has a link on the Cypress website to download it manually. So I had to download manually on Windows because I can't just run it out of npm. Normally you just run it out of npm. And so I have this. And so you can do Cypress open. And when I run that, it runs a command in my Windows box to open up Cypress. And here I can actually select the project I want, or I can use the one I just opened earlier. So if I did this, I can actually select the directory and open it that way. See, it recommends use it per npm, but if you're in Windows, it's a little bit more difficult. So I click here for recent projects, and here's my test.js file that I just created. So I click on it, and it opens a brand new window. And you can see here on the left-hand side, it's running the tests. So it all came back green. So you can see it visits local 8080. That's what you display here. It's grabbing the data links and checking the assertion library. So what's nice about this is you can actually run each test, and you can click on it to see the output. You can see, so you can basically run it. You can see request, response. So you can see exactly what it's doing at any point in time. If it fails, you'll see a red. So if we go back to our Visual Studio code and we put 3 in here and we save it, it'll run the test again automatically. It actually waits a few seconds, and then it gives us an error, and it prints the output to the console. So if we go to the console, we can see, hey, there's an error, expected this, and this is what it's doing. So that's kind of nice to know like what's happening. It gives you the error here as well. So we'll put it back to 2. And so we'll do one more test case so you guys get the example. I want to see to make sure this says ecosystem right here. So we'll go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code. Go back to our tests. So we'll do it, and then we'll do, we'll see check tag function, and then we'll do cy-get. Remember, we have that data as well. Data.cy equals eco is what we called it. And then we're going to use contains, and then we'll just make sure it says ecosystem. So we'll save it. It runs it again, and you see it already passed already. So it says right here, this matches what we expect it to be. So that's just a really quick example of using Cypress on your end-to-end testing for Vue.js. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave a comment below. Thanks.